Department of Tourism and its stakeholders have come under fire for the nearly R1 billion Tottenham Hotspur kit marketing partnership. SA Tourism this week held a press briefing after public outcry over the deal, stating that the deal has been in the works since 2017. The acting CEO, Themba Khumalo, said the deal has a potentially high return on investment for South African tourism. However, President Cyril Ramaphosa said he didn't think the deal was justified. Since then, 3 Tourism South Africa board members have resigned, citing a difference of opinion. For more on this, let's speak to founder and managing director of DonValley Reputation Managers, Solly Moeng. Solly, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining us on our program this morning. There have been many developments on this particular story, the latest being, of course, the resignation of these 3 board members. What are your thoughts on what's happened so far?
It looks like good morning to you, isn't it? It seems like the bottom, the center, is not holding anymore. SA Tourism came up very strongly to defend this thing at the tone of the acting CEO. It's almost like he was patronizing people. You don't know anything. I know how it's going to run. I'm going to teach you how to just listen up. That was his attitude, but he forgot the context in which he was presenting this thing. That you can be the man who shouts the loudest in the room. It doesn't mean you're right, especially if you disregard what else is paining the people in the room. And I think that's where they failed. Let alone the processes that led to putting together this deal. Now it's coming out as acting CEO or CFO has got something to gain from it. And the resignation of 3 board of directors, the president distancing himself from it. This thing should be considered dead by now.
Yeah.
These people, there's no way how they're going to continue with the president of the country having refused them legitimacy.
Yeah. Talking about that press briefing, the acting CEO was trying to present a united front, affirming this idea that the board had given, conditional approval of this particular deal, almost to say that, honestly, we as an agency had a green light from the board, only to now learn that 3 board members are resigning, citing a difference of opinion. Now, when you see that difference of opinion, what sort of warning signals are flaring up in your mind?
It seems like somebody was trying to bulldoze this thing through the board, and clearly those 3 board members who left were not happy with the way this thing was managed from inside, and they mindful of their own reputation, because each one of them has their own professional reputation to be mindful of. This is not the last thing they want to be remembered of, or if anything, they want to be remembered to be on the good side of it, of walking away from terrible smell in the kitchen rather than staying in the kitchen.
Right. Something that's been raised before pertains to, governance issues, specifically dealing with the fact that we have, executives, we have a chief financial officer, we have a chief executive officer occupying acting positions, and yet signing off or potentially signing off on big spends up to the tune of R1 billion. Were those also some of the warning signs, I think, that really had a lot of people looking at this particular deal with a certain amount of a circumspect?
Yeah, definitely. And it's happened to us South Africans in the past, where somebody goes into an acting position, they get to they make an assessment of how much there is, how much money is going to go into tender processes and all that, and they prepare themselves to jump over the fence, throw it over the fence, and catch it on the other side. This is something that seems like that. He is involved with this agency. He knew that this kind of relationships don't last forever. At some point, the man was going to be thrown over, and he was going to be the first one to go and catch it. By the look of things, this was what it was going to be. And I think that the tone that was taken to explain to South Africans was not good. It's the tone, the timing, the response, the anger at the whistleblower. Whistleblowers should be protected. They should be encouraged to what do, because they do things to show South Africans that not all of people who are in systems are there to facilitate, to make those systems pass, even when they're acting in the interest of South Africans. I think basically they're going after the wrong people. They should the content that has been thrown at us, 50 billion rand will come back. It has not been unpacked. I don't know how. Is it advertising very equivalent, or are they saying we're going to see people coming to spend some amount of 88 billion rand in South Africa in how much time? It's all over the place. I mean, the things, when you throw too many papers like this at a community that doesn't understand, you end up with confusion.
Yeah. Khumalo, during the press briefing was quite critical of the media, calling the untimely release of this particular internal memo malicious, essentially creating this narrative that somebody jumped the gun. And before we could provide context and before we could even explain ourselves and properly announce this sponsorship deal, this news was released out into the public domain, and that's why we have so much misinformation and outrage. What do you make of that? Do you think that's exactly how it played out, that Daily Maverick in essence jumped the gun and didn't afford the agency an opportunity to go through thorough processes, that checklist, so that they get a proper green light on the project?
Well, I got the impression that Daily Maverick did ask for an opinion from SA Tourism, but at some point before going to press, they had not received the answers. And Daily Maverick doesn't have any obligation to wait forever if SA Tourism doesn't, or any entity for that matter, doesn't come out as soon as possible to provide information. If they can't do it today, they should at least say, please give us another 2 hours or 3 hours or another day to bring the information to you. There's no sense that this sort of thing has happened. The Daily Maverick had in a sense a story that they felt was sufficient to write something and put it out there. And they ran with what they had. SA Tourism is running on the back foot now, trying to shoot at whistleblowers. We don't shoot at whistleblowers in South Africa 2023. We kiss them, we hug them, we protect them. The CEO of Acting Tourism SA seems to have forgotten that part. We don't kiss them anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. One can't help, Solly, but look at this story through the lens of politics as well. There is a lot of political noise around this particular development. We know that there is an impending cabinet reshuffle, lots of noise around Tourism Minister Lindiwe Sisulu's future in that particular position. We've already had the president distance himself from these developments through his presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, saying that, this amount is too much, and the presidency is looking into, the viability of the deal itself. How should we sort of look at this with the greater picture at play, the political pieces that are still at play? I get the feeling that this story has far more legs and that we're likely to see even more developments in the coming days.
Well, I think the president, who is the chief, the de facto chief executive of South Africa, he has said, no, I don't support that thing. I won't even put it in my annual address. It means he wants to keep as much distance away from it as possible. If I were Themba Khumalo and SA Tourism, I'd probably have a conversation that would like, okay, maybe we should dish this thing out. If you really believe in it, let's try and push it for next. Let's buy more time to sell it if we think it's for sale. I mean, board members have left. I would have wanted to be a fly in the room when the collective decision was made to say, guys, we cannot associate. And I'm sure these are reputationally conscious board members who don't want to be remembered for bad things, for another staff that's going to go into directions that are not allowed, shouldn't be. And the fact that there's a relationship between the acting CFO and the agency that's pushing this thing, it's bad blood. I mean, what happens? The money gets thrown over the fence, somebody goes over the fence to collect the money. It's happened too many times in South Africa. These people must just say, okay, South Africa, they must just come down and say, South Africa, we hear you. We're going to go back to our drawing board. But even though we believe that deals such as these, they are not new, we will not be the first ones to do it. Other people are doing it. But perhaps in a context, we need to think broader. We're not Rwanda. People keep saying it was done in Rwanda in such sense. We're not Rwanda. We are South Africa, where livelihoods have been destroyed, people are in pain, people are losing jobs as we speak, companies don't know where they're going to get funds to pay for their next fix. Electricity shortages are turning people's heads upside down. And then we have a government agencies saying, yeah, we're going to give about $1 million to R1 billion to a company run by wealthy people who drive around in Bentleys. And you see, in South Africa, you can't say we are tourism, we're doing our job, others must do their job. We are tourism part of one company. And young people said this not too long ago, and I agree with him. The government must act as one. There must be alignment.
Right.
You know, if this guy says, I'm going to do what I'm going to do no matter what, and another department which is linked to what he's supposed to do is not at the right stage, then it's not going to work.
Right. Well, Solly, thank you so much. We are going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on our platform. That is founder of DonValley Reputation Managers, Solly Moeng.